So I just wanted to do this really quick video because more recently, a lot of people have been watching the Osmo Action 3 versus the Osmo Action 4 video that I did months ago and asking whether I still think that the Osmo Action 4 is a worthy upgrade from the Osmo Action 3. And for my personal preference, I do think so, just based on how I use the cameras, and I'll tell you why. There are two reasons for that. And one of the reasons is down to a firmware update that the Osmo Action 4 had. Again, this was like a few months ago, but it was an update that was so useful that I don't think if I had the Osmo Action 3 that I wouldn't consider that upgrade to the Action 4 because of the update. But the first reason is down to how I like to use cameras. And the Osmo Action 4 has two settings where you can have more control over the final look of your image, and that is down to the sharpness and the noise reduction, and also being able to shoot in D-Log-M in 10-bit. And the Osmo Action 3 obviously has D-Cine-like, but I feel like if you like to do that, if you like to color grade your footage, then the Osmo Action 4 just has more room to do that and has more scope and just better colors, and it just looks better. And then also being able to reduce the sharpness and the noise reduction, I think makes such a big difference to the overall look. And it's something that I played around with in the beginning when I got the Osmo Action 4. And the footage just looks so good when you set it specifically to however you want it to be with the sharpness and noise reduction. So that alone, so that one thing for me is a big deal. And then the other thing comes down to convenience and not liking to faff around with cameras and do the least amount possible to just get up and start filming without having to mess around with loads of different things. And so this is down to, if you were using the Osmo Action 3 and you wanted to use an external microphone and you wanted to get really good audio, then you would have to connect a microphone via USB-C to the Osmo Action 3 because there's no other way to do it. Whereas with the new, it's not new anymore, but the firmware update that the Osmo Action 4 had some months back allowed you to be able to have a direct Bluetooth connection from the DJI Mic 2, which I'm using at the moment, to the Osmo Action 4. And so it means that you don't actually need a receiver plugged into the Osmo Action 4. You can just connect it with the mic, have the mic and the camera, and that is literally all you need. And having that when the camera turns on and when the mic is on as well, having it connect automatically without having to keep pairing it or having to do anything else is just so useful. And then also having the feature in the camera and the microphone which allows you to have audio to video sync, whereby if you hit record on your camera, it will then also record a backup track in the DJI Mic 2 as well. And then when you stop the recording on the camera, it'll also stop the recording in the microphone. So you're getting that separate track which is linked to the Action 4, and the file names are exactly the same. So when you come to edit that footage and you want to sync up that footage later on, you don't have to try and hunt around for the audio files and match them up to the Action 4 footage files. So it's just that convenience. And for me, like I said, this is going to be subjective. Some people might think, do you know what, I'm fine with the audio that just comes out of the camera, so I don't want to use an external mic. However, I would say on a very windy day, you would need an external mic because the wind hitting the microphones doesn't sound very good, to me anyway. So in that respect, I would say an external mic is very useful. And yeah, like I said, I prefer not to have to plug in a receiver into the Osmo Action 3. So those are the two reasons why I think if I didn't have the Action 4 and I had the Action 3 and I was thinking, is that extra, I think it's like $100 now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's about $100 difference between the Action 3 and the Action 4. To me, that would be fine. It would be a worthy upgrade and I'd be happy with that just for the convenience and being able to get my footage to look exactly how I want it to. So I've done a very full comparison between the Osmo Action 3 and the Action 4 in terms of like the video quality, if you want to see that, and other things that I talked about. And I'll link that original video in the description so that you can check that out, because I'm not showing any of that in this video. It was just to say, however many months later, that yeah, I would actually recommend it if those two things matter to you, upgrading from the Action 3 to the Action 4. So yeah, anyway, that was it.